Okay, here's hoping this works out. How's that autofocus doing for me? I just finished the blade itself an hour ago, so I real quick whipped up some dinner, stuck it in the oven, and then came out here to film. So here's hoping. So the blade itself is a grimdark fantasy. Book 1 is extremely character focused and very much set up for the rest of the series. As far as I understand, it's a trilogy, but I've also heard people talk about 6 books, so maybe it's a 2-part trilogy. I really don't know. I tend to go into my books knowing very little, which was the case with this one. And like I said, I finished this book about an hour ago, so you're getting my very first reaction, initial thoughts review. With this being such a character-focused setup, first book in a series, this is going to be a spoiler-free review because I don't feel like I don't have enough spoilery thoughts to justify a spoiler-filled review. But as I continue on with the series, because I will be continuing on with the series, all my sequel reviews will be spoiler-filled. So as always, this review is going to have 3 pros and 3 cons so that you can decide if it's the right book for you. Starting on a negative so we can end on a positive, my negative is, was this book well balanced? Maybe not entirely. Like I said, this is a super character-focused story. There are 6 characters, I think, that we get a point of view from, but really there's 3 main characters, I would say, and then 3 characters that are very important supporting characters, I would think, from book 1. And we spend this book really getting to know these characters, their backstories, their motivation, what makes them tick, the different sides of them, and all that was great. The character work was fantastic. But was there really much going on outside of the character work? Yes and no, I think. There really wasn't very much world building at all. It was a fairly contained story. People were in different locations, but certainly not an epic as far as the scope of the world, and the world that we got to see, I don't think was built up extremely well, and I don't necessarily think that's a fault to this book. It's just something that made me not love it as much because I love me some world building. But I do think that Joe Abercrombie possibly did this intentionally because he really wanted book 1 to be about the characters, and then he's gonna build on the rest of it after that. I think he really wanted us to have solid, believable, important characters, and then he was going to create the story and the world, or at least make it a lot bigger in what's to come. That's the impression I got. To me, not having a ton of detail on the world, not having a really strongly moving plot. The plot certainly moved, but it was really about the characters. Not having a lot of other dynamics going on is a con to me, but it's a really minor con because it came off as more of an intentional thing. My first pro is going to be characters, which I've already talked about, so I don't have to say a lot about it, but these are morally gray characters. We do not have the good guy facing off against the bad guy. We do not have a lot of typical fantasy tropes. This really reads like classic fantasy, much like A Song of Ice and Fire, but in my opinion, this has a very similar feeling to A Song of Ice and Fire, but better written. Anyway, the point is, the characters were fantastic in this book. This is something that Joe Abercrombie obviously put a lot of attention to, and he did it really well. The characters are very believable. I feel like I know them very, very well, but I also feel like any of them could surprise me, which is just, he hit that sweet spot. My next con is, again, something that I've kind of already hit on, and that's that this book was very much a setup. Again, I don't think this is necessarily a negative to the book. Every review is obviously opinion-based, so what you're getting is my opinion. I don't think that this is a thing that Joe Abercrombie did poorly. It's just something that was kind of a con for me, and that's that this book is set up clearly for the rest of for the other books. Golly gee. What I'm trying to say is some books tell a full story in and of themselves, and yet the series is a bigger scoping story as well. And I think that that's my favorite storytelling style, when book 1 is clearly nothing but setup and can't stand on its own at all. That's just not my favorite, but that doesn't make it a negative. But I did come away from this book feeling like I really know the characters and not so much else. which I kind of already touched on. I don't have a lot of really strong cons in this book. I really liked it. But there you go, there's my con. I don't really have anything else to say about it. My next pro, I've already kind of touched on this as well, and that's how unpredictable the story was. The characters, like I said, I feel like I know them so well, but also, what are they gonna do next? I have no idea. Who's gonna die? Couldn't tell ya. This author did an amazing job of making everything so real that nothing is predictable, and I loved it. My last con was a bit of a reach, and that's just that sometimes it's a little bit repetitive, especially as far as motivations go, the characters' motivations. Joe Abercrombie really wanted to repeatedly tell us about their motivations, and it wasn't wonderful. I'm reaching. And my last pro is going to be, oh my goodness, the potential in this book. So I feel like I'm not putting a lot of emotion into this review, and that's because everything is still so fresh and I'm still trying to collect my thoughts. But let me go ahead and emphasize to you, this book was really good. While I don't necessarily love when books are clearly nothing but setup, not nothing, but clearly set up for the rest of the series, the setup was really well done, and I just really hope the follow through works out, because there is so much potential where we landed and all that has been built up and that it looks like we're headed towards. I'm really ready for it. I think that this series could be really incredible. I went in pretty apprehensive for this series because I didn't really think Grimdark was for me. A Song of Ice and Fire, I tried it, I didn't finish it, and I don't know if I'll come back to it. I might someday, maybe, we'll see. But this one, I cannot wait for book 2. I think it was the perfect amount of, this place is disturbing, this world is messed up, this is really, these people are horrible, but I love them, but I hate them, but they're amazing. It was the perfect balance of, this place is disturbing, but also I kind of want to keep hanging out here. I just think that this book was brilliantly executed. I really don't have a lot of negative things to say. The negative things that I do have to say are, wasn't completely my preference, but I love this book, you should read it. It is dark, so if you don't like grimdark fantasy, then, don't read it. I didn't think I liked grimdark fantasy. I think that at least book 1 was a softball for this genre. It'll probably get darker, so we'll see how that goes. But, man, this book was really good. I am dying to get more of these characters. My favorite characters are, Logan Ninefingers, and the one that, I put it on the screen, I can't remember the character, how to say the character's name, but those are my 2 favorite characters. The one that I can't remember how to say the name of, that's my favorite character so far. I think that this author did the perfect balance, set out to make a world that was dark and yet that you were latched onto, and I think he did it perfectly, and I loved it. And I'm mildly bummed that December is dedicated to rereads, because I really just want to dive into book 2. Those are my reactionary, spoiler-free, I just finished the book, here's all that I'm feeling kind of thoughts. Some of you guys love it when I do these, this is my initial reaction to finishing this book reviews. Some of you guys hate it because you'd rather me collect my thoughts more. Sometimes I do it this way, sometimes I do it the other, but that's how I wanted to do this one, especially because it's spoiler-free. But take away that I loved this book, and I'm so excited for book 2. If you've read this book, or if you plan to read this book, I'd love to chat with you more about it in the comments. I post videos every Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and I post my reviews on off days. I'll see you guys again soon. Bye.